You are crouching barefoot by a perfectly still pool of water. The wind has just died down. The ripples from your footsteps have finally faded. You lean forward to drink, and suddenly, there is a face looking back at you. Your heart spikes. Your immediate instinct is defensive. For your entire life, and for the millions of years of hominid evolution preceding you, a face staring at you from the brush or the water meant one of two things. It was another member of your tribe, or it was a threat. You bare your teeth at the face in the water. The face bares its teeth back. You tilt your head. The face tilts its head. You reach a hand up to touch the mud smeared across your cheek, and the figure in the water mimics the exact motion. Then, a neurological explosion happens inside your skull. A connection snaps into place that separates you from almost every other living creature on the planet. You realize that the face in the water isn't a stranger, it is you. For modern humans, this seems entirely unremarkable. You see your own face dozens, maybe hundreds of times a day. You catch your reflection in the bathroom mirror, in store windows, and on the black glass of your smartphone. But for hundreds of thousands of years, your ancestors had absolutely no concept of what they looked like. They knew the shape of their hands, the color of their arms, and the sound of their own voices. But the face was a complete mystery. Before that moment at the water's edge, humans operated purely outwardly. Your awareness was projected entirely into the world around you. You listened for the snap of a twig, you smelled the approaching rain, you watched the tree line for movement. You were an observer. But the moment you recognized your own reflection, you became the observed. Science has a name for this psychological threshold. It is called mirror visual self-recognition, and it is incredibly rare. In the 1970s, a psychologist named Gordon Gallup Jr. developed the mirror test. He placed chimpanzees in a room with a large mirror. At first, the chimps reacted exactly the way early humans probably did. They thought it was another animal. They threatened it. They tried to play with it. They looked behind the glass to find the other chimp. But after a few days, something shifted. The chimps started using the mirror to groom themselves. They used it to look at the insides of their mouths and to inspect parts of their bodies they had never been able to see before. To prove they really understood what was happening, Gallup secretly placed a red, odorless dye on the chimps' eyebrows while they were asleep. When they woke up and looked in the mirror, they didn't touch the glass. They immediately reached up to touch their own foreheads. They knew the image was them, and they knew their image had changed. When you pass the mirror test, a very specific network in your brain lights up. It involves the right prefrontal cortex and the parietal lobule. It is the exact same neural hardware that allows you to feel empathy and read the intentions of others. And this is where the discovery of your own reflection changes everything about human history. Understanding that you are a distinct physical entity is the prerequisite for something called theory of mind. Theory of mind is the realization that because you have your own private thoughts, feelings, and physical boundaries, everyone else must have them too. The moment that early human looked into the water and understood the concept of I, they simultaneously understood the concept of you. If I exist as a separate thing, then the person across the campfire exists as a separate thing. He has information that I do not have. He has desires that I do not share. This single realization gave birth to two of the most powerful human traits, empathy and deceit. Because if I know that you have a separate mind, I can feel sorry for you when you are hurt, but I can also lie to you because I know you cannot see what is inside my head. All of human cooperation, politics, trade, and betrayal requires this fundamental understanding of the self. But seeing your own reflection also created something far heavier. It created existential dread. When you operate solely in the present moment, reacting to the environment, you are free from the burden of self-image. But once you see yourself from the outside, you realize that you are an object in the world, an object that can be judged by others, an object that is vulnerable, an object that will eventually age and disappear. The birth of self-awareness was also the birth of vanity, social anxiety, and insecurity. Suddenly, how you presented yourself to the tribe mattered. Paint, jewelry, clothing, and posture stopped being purely functional and became tools for managing this new, external version of yourself. We became so obsessed with this concept of the self that we refused to rely on muddy puddles to see it. About 8,000 years ago, in a Neolithic settlement called Çatalhöyük in what is now modern-day Turkey, humans did something deeply illogical. They started manufacturing the world's first mirrors. These weren't glass. They were made from obsidian, a hard, volcanic stone. People would take these lumps of black rock and grind them for hours, days, and weeks until the surface was perfectly flat and highly polished. Think about the massive expenditure of calories and time this required. In a harsh, unforgiving world where survival was a daily struggle, early humans took precious time away from hunting, gathering, and building shelter just to painstakingly polish a piece of rock so they could look at their own faces. That is how powerful the addiction to the self really is. The reflection offered something that raw survival could not: proof of existence. Every time you open your phone's front-facing camera, you are participating in a neurological loop that began millions of years ago at the edge of a quiet pool of water. You are confirming that you are here, that you take up space, and that you are an individual. We traded the blissful ignorance of simply existing for the heavy, beautiful, and terrifying burden of knowing exactly who we are.